Ep11.
Hello and welcome to Slash Dupe, the mysterious movie pitching podcast with a twist. Each member of today's podcast has been given the same movie or TV title, some time to prepare, and has come to the table to pitch their own unique take on that title. We'll be hearing 2 pitches before the break and 1 afterwards. After the break, we'll be hearing a special pitch from the Dupe. The Dupe is the one person at the table who has not been given the title in advance and will have to improvise their idea at the end of the show, following everybody else's. Our Dupe today is Ryan. Ryan, how are you feeling about being the Dupe today?
If I'm being honest, Sean, I've had a week, right?
Yeah.
But doing these recordings, well, first of all, I miss being at the table with everybody.
Sure.
You know, doing over these Zoom is great. But yeah, I've had a week, but I've been really looking forward to doing this podcast with everyone. So I guess I'm excited again, as per usual.
Good. I mean, you're the Dupe often, and we open up the Dupe to our guests as well. But often people elect to have some time to prepare. So I really applaud, and I think we all would applaud the work you've put in for being the Dupe. It's a tough job, and most people don't want to do it, but you seem to take to it really well. So we can't imagine you having any other role at this point. But if somebody wants to usurp Ryan's crown as the Dupe, please put your hat in the ring. You know, we'd be happy to have you.
To be honest, Sean, I feel like I'm a secondary dupe most of the time. So.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was like Dan was actually also a dupe, but was playing like the long con, pretending like he wasn't, when the whole time, like, you know, the third act reveal is that he was actually the real dupe all along.
He was the dupe all along.
You made me believe that I was the dupe by just giving me the title.
That's my life. I am the dupe all along.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to say hi to our Slash Dupe regular, Dan. Dan, without giving anything away, how are you feeling about today's title? Because you do know the title for today.
I love the title. I've been on holiday.
We all know what that means.
Yeah, we'll see the quality. That's all. But I'm really excited to hear everyone's ideas as well.
And our guest today is Maddie. Welcome, Maddie. How are you feeling about your chances?
Hi. I'm feeling confident. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm excited. I need to get this idea out of me because I feel like this is a film I've always wanted to make.
It's perfect. That's what we need. We need ideas that...
no.
Yeah, you've said it now. You can't take it back. We love ideas that have to explode out of a person, and I feel like we often get that. At least one person each episode has a burning idea. So if it's yours today, I'm very excited.
We'll see. But thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
No, we're pleased to have you. And finally, I'm Sean, your peerless moderator, and at the end of the episode, I shall be selecting a winning idea to go through to the next heat. What happens with the winning idea at the end of the season, you'll have to wait until the halfway point of today's episode to find out.
What actually is a Slash Dupe?
Well, you don't have to make it sound like you've never heard it before, but thanks thanks for asking, Maddie.
Well, I haven't. Well, I have, but I haven't.
Well. For anyone who hasn't, a Slash Dupe is a rough early version of a film that's used in post-production. It's usually an unfinished foundation of what a finished film can become. And together on Slash Dupe, the podcast, that's what we hope to bring to you at least. But today's Slash Dupe, what is it? I can reveal to you that the title for today's episode is Dogs of Law. Dogs of Law. That is today's Slash Dupe.
Cracking title.
So good.
Woof.
So, Maddie, I hear you're going to go first. Can you give us your idea for Dogs of Law?
Yes, I can. Okay, so are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I want this film to be so bad. It is amazing. So it's good. And becomes this like big cult film that, everybody, just becomes legendary for just how bad it is, I think. So kind of style-wise, I went for silent movie. So like black and white, old school, like Charlie Chaplin-esque sort of silent movie, so no dialogue or anything like that, but kind of slides in between things, describing the action and the dialogue, and with music in the background, kind of film noir style. And I want it to be sort of like short, so 15 to 20 minutes long. And I've picked... and really low budget, like no budget.
Right.
So in terms of plot, I've kind of gone a bit sort of hot fuzzed-ish with the plot. So kind of a police drama. Yeah. So shall I just launch into the...
Please do. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
story?
it.
Maddie, I don't know whether you need to, because I think this is going to win purely because
Just you wait.
making a trailer of it is going to be easy.
Well, you might want to hold that thought.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. We shall see. So, I should point out that all the characters are dogs. Okay,
Of course,
so
of
there's
course.
no
That took us
dogs
by
of law.
surprise. Okay.
Yeah. So all the characters are dogs.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it already, though. I can see it.
Oh, yeah. So can I. No. So the film starts with, I kind of wanted to start a bit like, is it Neighbours that has like the characters at the beginning looking into camera with like the wind machine like in their hair, and it has like their character name underneath, and they like give a look to camera.
And Hollyoaks. I mean, I was so a friend told me one time.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, I'd love it to start like that, so you're clear on who everybody is. It's a small cast. There's only about like 4 main characters, which I'll go into in a bit. So as it's like a hot fuzz type story, so I've got the first character called Detective Wooferson Barks. Now he is the kind of like Simon Pegg character, and he's arrived from like busy police station in London where everything's really efficient, and he arrives in like a rural countryside town which I've called Walkiesbridge. Genius. And he's been posted there to kind of help with some hideous crimes that are happening at Walkiesbridge. Basically, bones are being stolen from the morning bone round, which is just awful. Yeah, not ideal. So Detective Wooferson Barks is used to like an efficient, disciplined workplace. Everything is like high stakes. And when he walks into the office at Walkiesbridge, he is shocked at kind of how inefficient it is. It's all a mess. As he walks in, he's faced with, I've called him Constable Fleabag Bones Walker, aka Bonesy. He is just like asleep in the sink, like watching the water drip or something like that. And then the boss of the establishment, who I've called Superintendent Sarah Jessica Barker. She's asleep on a desk.
Nice.
Thank you. She's asleep with donut in her face. I don't know, just not doing any work. The place is a mess, and he's a bit shocked. So anyway, he's paired with Bonesy, Constable Bonesy, and they go out and investigate to see what has been going on. Their main suspect is sort of local wheeler-dealer Del Boy, Salabrador Cabone. He's usually behind... He is usually behind the sort of bad things that go on, in Walkiesbridge. So they go on a hunt to find him. Naturally, he's in a bar, and the 2 detectives come in, they find him, and there's a big bar fight, silent movie style. But the 2 detectives win, and they interrogate Salabrador Cabone. Then they soon realise it can't be him. It can't be him. He's got an alibi. But he does give a lead to that there is something happening in...
Was that a
A
pun?
lead.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Well done for spotting. he gives a lead, that something is happening in the warehouse, sort of the only warehouse in that village. So they go and investigate. All seems normal as they first walk in. It's quite dark, but nothing seems that suspect. But there's a curtain on the other side of the warehouse. They then move the curtain, and behind there are stacks and stacks of shiny bones. Basically, the stolen bones from the morning bone round. Bonesy goes to eat them, but Wifferson Barks is like, no, you're working, you can't eat them.
Were they going to take a slice? Is that what it was? They were going to take a slice of the bones?
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
Oh.
Ka-ching, ka-ching. Nah.
Yeah.
But what is strange is that there are a lot of police documents sort of strewn about the place, which they're like, that's weird. The police were, there. But they hear a noise, so they hide, maybe behind the bones, don't know. And they hear someone coming, and it ends up being Superintendent Sarah Jessica Barker. And I don't know, there'd be some slide, because it's a silent movie, saying something like, Woof, what sort of stolen bone shall I eat today? From her. And then basically she's arrested, and that's the end.
Brilliant.
So that's the story.
Okay, tremendous.
Thank you.
And what have you got any actors in mind to play?
So this is what So basically, I want them all played by local pets
Okay.
from where we film it.
Okay.
So this is a little bit of a curveball. So as you know, all the characters are dogs, but they are all going to be played by cat actors.
Catters, some might say.
Yeah.
Is that not
So-
whitewashing or animal washing or something? Is it?
Well,
if you don't have dogs represent themselves, how do you know it's an accurate representation of all the different?
Well, this
breeds?
is why this film is so awful.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so they're going to be cats with like dog hats on.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
This has
Yeah.
taken a turn I never thought it could.
Really?
So yeah,
I know.
wow.
We took a
I
brief
know,
break,
awful.
and Dan goes, "I'm worried that my idea is going to be a lot like Maddie's, and I'm not sure that it is now."
Yeah, are you sure about that? Yeah. So, yeah. And obviously there's the characters. And also we need some background artists for the bar scene, and maybe some stunt actors, animal actors for the bar fight as well, because that's quite intense.
Would the stunt actors be cats, or would they actually be dogs? I don't know.
That would be funnier.
I think that they'd be cats.
No, that there were dogs, and so when it goes to the stunts, it literally stops being a cat,
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
a dog, and goes back to being a cat.
I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, definitely.
Because cats wouldn't do their own stunts,
No.
would they?
Of
This
course
is
not.
I mean,
why.
they do them quite a lot anyway. They're pouncing around everywhere.
Yeah. So it's a busman's holiday for them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Divas, aren't they?
Well, this is why I thought of it, because it would be like the film is going on with all this action, but actually none of the action is actually happening because the cat's just doing its own thing,
idea.
walking off. And I want it to be so you can see like people, like humans' hands putting treats down, so the animal goes. You see them like being picked up and put in the right
I
place.
see. Okay.
So it's like
Yeah.
When they interview the director, he says in the interview, or she says in the interview, "My God, it was just like herding cats."
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know
In
what I mean?
fact, I think
the
that's just
tagline,
what
maybe.
you were. Yeah, that would be the tagline on the DVD at the bottom.
But can I suggest we get one dog in there? And
Yeah,
that is-
please.
what was the name of the posh dog that they went to see? Who realised it wasn't him?
Oh, Labrador Cabone.
Right. Can that be played by like a fourth place Crufts like runner up? Like, washed out, like, hey, I used to be somebody, and then and then like that's like the one actual dog they get in.
Yeah.
Curly his tail.
What you can't see on the podcast is Maddie's face of utter delight
Yeah.
every time she gets to say one of the dogs' names. Because she's so proud.
A lot of research went into them, I have to say.
Well, that brings me to my next question. What are the breeds of the dogs that the cats will be playing? And then a subsequent question, what breeds of cats will be playing the breeds
Yep.
of dogs that are in the film?
Important questions.
Two big
questions.
So
questions.
before we get into that,
Yeah.
this is where there's a bit of crossover going on between yours and mine. So that's all I'm going to say.
I'm so intrigued.
We don't condone spoilers on this podcast, guys, but that might just be one from Dan.
Squeeze one in. Well, I'm open to any suggestions, really. I mean, I like to think that Detective Witherson Bucks would be... I imagine him a bit like a sausage dog.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm open to other suggestions.
No.
Well, they're
Let's go with it.
compact,
Let's
aren't
go.
they? So they're good city dogs. So to take him as a city dog to the country, where you might get more of the sort of the larger breeds of dog that like to roam around, sort of
exactly.
It makes sense that he's a smaller dog. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But what cat plays him?
Or again, it would depend on the kind of personality of the cat, really.
Well, we know the personality of every cat. All cat haters, all cat lovers are going to write in now, hating Dan.
No, because they know that their cats are mean, and that's why they like them. That's like one of the
Right.
key things to liking a cat, right? Is that they have a dark side, whereas dogs are too optimistic and happy-go-lucky. There's no, they're too saccharine. They don't have that edge that cats have. I'm just trying to sort of appease everybody.
Peter on our side, are you?
Is that yes? So what's an interesting sort of cat? I mean, you wouldn't want a really exotic cat because let's face it, nobody would go and see a movie if it's an exotic cat. It's got to be represented. They don't want to represent the people. They'll just chuck a plain normal cat that would bring the money in, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They wouldn't bother going exotic or because people
It'd cost more as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, as we all know, people don't go and see movies with exotic cats. They like the. I'm making.
I've
Can you
seen the
tell I'm making
subtext
a strange
the
parallel
subtext.
between the what's bad about Hollywood and in this movie about cats playing dogs? I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
Can you explain the morning bone round to me, please?
So it's like
Whoa, hang on.
it's like the morning milk round, but because
see.
they're all dogs, it's bones.
Oh, okay. No, fair enough. No, yeah, that's enough
That's
for me.
it.
I'm satisfied.
That's it.
I was thinking paper round, and I was thinking, but you can't read a bone. I was thinking, where's the dog equivalent of a paper round? But when you say milk round, that does actually make sense.
You've been a city dweller for too long.
Yes.
Hey, I used to have my milk delivered. I remember in a little glass bottle. Remember?
And orange juice as well.
And orange
then,
juice in
And
a
then you
glass
drink all
bottle.
the orange juice and I drink all the milk and we get annoyed at each other.
But listen, you like milk more than I like milk.
Hang on,
I
boys. It's been gone now. It's years ago.
Okay. Now we can go out to shop and buy
and he still
whatever
comes
milk
to my
and
house
orange
and
juice we
steals
want.
my orange juice.
So this film,
Yeah.
I assume it's made by humans, the human beings
Yes.
in the real world. Was
Yeah.
it made to be serious, like an Ed Wood type directed film? Was it made to be serious and then was co-opted by the masses as a sort of as a joke film, or was it made to be a joke? Was it
Good
already made
question.
to be funny, like a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place? Where does it sort of fall on the scale?
I think it's made to be silly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's been made. It's been made to be. Yeah. I
That's
think.
less depressing, isn't it? It's less depressing if they meant to make it silly
Yeah,
and
it's-
so bad it's good.
Kind of like a group effort kind of thing. Yeah.
Is this a film, Maddie, that after this recording you're going to go out and make? Is this basically like a glorified trailer, an advertisement
Well,
for Maddie's next directorial debut?
well, you'll have to wait and see, won't you? Wait and see. Keep an eye on the shelves.
So yeah, on the pet aisle. Well,
exactly.
So what era has it been made in then? Has it been made before? Has it been made back in the days of silent films, or has it been made recently to ape silent films?
I think it's been made recently.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah, as a homage to the silent films. Yeah. Yeah.
That helps me answer one of my questions. So the music, what is the music going to be like?
Well, so I had to think about this, and I think I wanted it to be like a recorder orchestra. So, yeah. So, like, and a mixture.
You've done well.
Yeah.
With the, I want this to be so bad that it's good. You've gone there.
Yeah, I
speechless.
went for it. So like a recorder orchestra, like a mixture of like professional, so like the BBC Recorder Orchestra or something, and then
Consort.
yeah, and then also some amateur recorder players.
Kids from a school.
Yeah, kids from the local school. And I thought, yeah, whoever gave their pet in to be involved with the film could also be given a free recorder, and then they can learn and be in the soundtrack along with their pets.
Unbelievable.
That's so lovely. It's so lovely. It's a terrible idea, but it's so lovely. It's like I can't take that away from you. It's such a lovely idea.
Also, I just want to defend the recorder for a little bit. I just watched Flo and Joan, the musical comedians, and they do a recorder rock star skit, and it is brilliant.
Okay.
It's brilliant.
Recorders are underrated. I think that the potential is enormous.
Where do
Well, it's not really. It's only got a very limited range. So before you,
I mean, so does a trumpet, though.
let's not conflate the two. Where does it fall on the ukulele scale? Is it better or worse than a ukulele?
it probably a ukulele. What you need is a ukulele orchestra with a recorder consort.
Yes,
together.
Okay.
On this,
I think that's probably
all played by the local children.
Yeah.
Because they're learning them as part of their school process, and the elderly village community, so that it's got that bonding between young and old. I love it.
Yeah, I'm very keen to sort of bring everybody together on this one. Yeah.
So they can all be equally ridiculed by the show.
Yeah, if everyone's bullied, then nobody's bullied. You know.
Absolutely.
What's the male-female ratio? What's the dog to bitch ratio of this film?
I actually hadn't thought of that. But I'd
You were waiting the whole day to try it, weren't you?
Asking the questions I would normally ask in a slash dupe, applying it to a film entirely made up of cats and dogs is interesting. I won't lie. It's changed my outlook.
I think it should be equal. I don't think there's a limit to how many and which, like, girl cats can play boy dogs and boy dogs can play girl cats. I get there's no limit. I don't see why there should be.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just hope Hollywood catches up, eh? You know?
Well, exactly. I should also add, though, that there was also going to be a reality TV show spin-off of the making of this.
Oh, okay.
As well.
Sort of a documentary following.
Yeah, of the making of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it famous, I think.
I think it wins a BAFTA.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay. Not the film, but
the
documentary spin-off of the film. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because then that's how this sort of idea gets into the mainstream. It's one of these "can you believe this was made? Can you believe it happened?" sort of documentaries that wins the BAFTA, and then people go back and watch the film. And then, as you were saying before we started as well, you mentioned merchandise and a couple of other things, just briefly, as you were teasing us about it. So, what sort of merchandise do you feel would come out of this idea?
Oh gosh, so much. You could have the hats. You could for your own pet, made for all pets. You could have a signed cards. Oh God, there's no limit.
Can we just circle back? So in your mind, they're all wearing like hats, because I wasn't picturing them with hats, but you're picturing them with film noir, proper film noir hats on.
No, they're hats
they're
of the dogs.
hats of the dogs or of the cats.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
You
sense.
could have a hat that was of the cat wearing the dog.
Yeah, that's exactly
Or reversible one, right?
Yeah.
Cat on one side, dog
Love
on the
it.
other.
Branded recorders and ukuleles.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
who
yeah,
doesn't
lots.
want that in their collection? Who isn't going out hunting down all of the different branded ukuleles
Yeah.
and recorders?
And
like
of course,
this.
you can buy the soundtrack,
Uh-huh.
which, yeah.
Yeah.
On vinyl, hopefully.
Yeah.
You get it on vinyl for the purists. For the purists, of course, yeah. There's nothing quite like that soundscape. What do you call it? There's nothing quite like that dynamic range that you get on a vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Maddie, you've obviously already won. But is there anything
I
else?
don't know. I don't know about that.
Anything else that you can tell us that about this idea? Because it's without a doubt the most unique idea we've had on Slash Dupe.
Oh gosh. I don't know really. It would be made with a lot of love, basically.
Sure.
And obviously no animals would be harmed or in any stress during the filming, and they would be left to do what they wanted to do, which is why we need the slates in between to describe the action and the dialogue.
Oh, I see.
Because otherwise,
Right.
because I imagine kind of like you have, like for example, if there's a bit when one of the dogs goes to lick the bone, but it's played by a cat, that's not going to do it, so it'll be washing itself, and then you just have a slide saying, "Eat the bone" or something. I don't know. Yum. Yeah.
Perfect.
So like that. So
really, it's more like a documentary where you film animals and then graft your story in between. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I love it. So we had a very wonderful, unique, spirited and personal pitch from Maddie on the title Dogs of Law, but I'm looking forward to yours, Dan, and where if it does indeed cross over and where it's different.
So it is the same in that it focuses on dogs. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in the title, that are in the law system, and that it will be played by animal actors.
Right.
So this is a film that, again, I don't think does very well. I started off with it being a kids' film, and I think it still is, but it's kind of like a family film, so it's got a little bit of stuff in it for the parents. And I feel I'm going to put this in early, because I don't normally do films as often as Netflix series. But what I feel is that this is a film that does pretty badly, but they take the idea and they turn it into a kid's cartoon.
Okay.
And like on CBeebies or something like that, and it does really well. It does really well because it's a bit like a Paw Patrol kind of idea. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that it's based around these four characters. There is a beat cop, and actually, Maddie, you're going to be able to help me with the names because your dog names are so extraordinary. So there's a beat cop, which is an Alsatian, and there's a detective that's a Basset Hound, and there's a lawyer that's a Doberman, and there's a judge that's a Schnauzer. And what we see is a kind of like, we go through all of this. It basically looks at the world of law via dogs, from the beginning, like just finding crime scenes, to detecting crime scenes, to accusing and going through the law system and being judged at the end and put into prison. But that was the way they started the idea, that maybe it was going to be slightly educational, and that's what it ends up in the cartoon. Actually, it helps us find out what each of those sort of people do in the law. But it ends up being a ridiculous family film in the style of like Cats and Dogs. I don't know if you ever saw that film, but with less humans. So it's like it is a dog's world. Zero humans,
okay.
yeah, zero humans. In fact, I think so that everything that a human would normally do is played by a dog. But we're really focusing on the on the law side of it. And I've got a little scene.
Oh, okay.
The beat cop, the Alsatian's there, and the Basset Hound, the detective, comes round the corner, and Alsatian says, "How you feeling today, sir?" And the Basset Hound says, "Rough."
Of course.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's good.
Is this from the cartoon? Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
no, this is the film.
Oh, okay.
And I half expected you to just be like, okay, and here's the scene, and the Doberman walks up and goes, oh, woof 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 woof.
That would have been brilliant, wouldn't it? Well, one of the ideas I did have was that this would be entirely in dog, and then it would be subtitled. But that was if it was going to be an adult film on dogs of law. Sorry, keep going. Well, I've got some bad news for you, sir. This is not what I needed this morning. My ex has been on the phone. The pups need new clothes, and I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. I need a raise. Well, in that case, sir, I may have some good news. Okay, you got my ears up. It's probably best if you see for yourself, Chief. Everyone knows you've got the best nose in town. And then they cuts to this scene, and there's something happened. You can help me with this in a minute. And the Basset Hound says, "How did this happen?" "I don't know, sir, but it has the cat's paw prints all over it." And then it shoots in on the Basset Hound, and it does like a long look across the whole thing, and like we can see like calculations and stuff going on. Something seems off. And it turns out that the mice are trying to frame cats for crimes across the town to incite cat versus dog hatred, so that the dogs might end up driving the cats out of town, leaving the mice to have everything that they want.
Love that.
And what we see is the beat cop he's going to have to do like some action stuff, like chasing down cats, but also eventually chasing down mice. The Basset Hound like detecting in different crime scenes and spotting that something's off. It doesn't quite work, so he hands all this evidence to the lawyer who's defending like the top cat or the fat cat of the town. Come on, right? Anyway, so and that I feel like it's Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney style. Like we go into like cutscenes of dogs like throwing evidence back and forth, and then obviously this Schnauzer just sat there looking really grumpy the whole way through. But it turns out that the Schnauzer has a heart of gold and eventually sees through all this stuff and declares the cat's innocent and the mice are driven from the town. But they're driven to a town which has cheese in it, so everyone's happy.
Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah.
This is
it's a kids'
amazing.
film, right?
Yeah.
That's the loose plot, and then but it's done. It's like Cats and Dogs. I think Cats and Dogs got like 51% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Yeah,
but it made money, didn't it?
It made money, and they take that and they put it into this because the kids love it. Like it's not critically acclaimed, but the kids find it funny because like there's dog poo at one point, like a dog's weeing on a fire hydrant, or a cat's like scratching itself, that kind of stuff. All this silly kids humour, and they take that and someone takes it and goes, this is great. We could actually teach kids about good policing and the law system and how it all works. And so it turns into sort of a weekly or a kids series, cartoon animated.
So can I suggest that if it becomes an animated series, it's called Dogs of Law: Paw in Order?
That's it.
That's
exactly
it. Is that
it.
okay?
Yes.
I know.
Exactly
I'm sure many jokes have been made like that previously, but I've yet to see a TV show,
I love
like
it.
that. So
And
if
for
that
this
works.
episode, because Sean's just put his
Added
stamp
his
on
own
the-
to-
on
Well,
the-
titles are sort of my thing, right?
And the tagline, before we go, because I'm almost done, the tagline is "Cry habeas corpus and let slip the dogs of law."
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
That's too good for the cartoon tagline, isn't it?
No, that's the film. That's the film tagline.
But that is a good tagline. I'm glad you wrote that down because that's the bit. That's the clincher.
That's the one, isn't it? That's the one. Happy with that.
So I've got a couple of questions. First of all, so he does calculations. He can see things like a Sherlock Holmes type dog, like that. And
and he probably has like a deer stalker as well, that goes with his ears. So it's not full deerstalker, but he has the deerstalker, and then his ears come out the top.
Yeah. His ears are the deerstalker elements of the.
That's right,
yeah, exactly. Which leads me to the other question about clothes, because one of the dogs was saying, "Hey, my pups need new clothes." How do you imagine these dogs are dressed? As the counterparts of their fully in suits and so on, and uniforms.
But kind of also so that the Alsatian wearing his beat dog stuff, that would wear what the canine units would for police anyway. Okay. So sort of like stab
SWATs.
jackets.
The SWATs would wear that, wouldn't they? That equivalent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so but he's wearing, and maybe he's got like a little off the shoulder cape that goes off the back. The judge is definitely in like a big black. You never see him except the top of him really, because he's kind of sat. You can't see this on the podcast, but he's sat like that, and with sort of the black cape off the top. Yeah, the Phoenix Wright. He's going to have to be that now, isn't he, Doberman? Ace. We'll call him Ace. We'll call the Doberman Ace. But he's like, because they've got really good, posture. They stand really lovely. Mm-hmm. So he's got that, and he's got like a slick, not quite suit on because it's a dog, but he's maybe a tie. Maybe he's got a tie on.
People get those things for dogs where it's just the front paws and it's up on their chest bit.
Yeah, a bit like that. I love it. A bit like that. And like, of course, at some point, like a mouse is going to run away or something, and the basset hound's going to shout, "Quick, Alsatian, whatever it is, collar him. Just collar him."
So no, that's good.
Get them all in.
Yeah.
It's in.
Now, part of me is quite sad that it's not like a deadly serious version of this, like Chinatown, but with dogs. Like just completely serious.
Initially, that's what it was going to be, but I couldn't think of a plot hard enough for that.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And then it would have been subtitled. It would have been like world cinema version. And I really like the idea of that somewhere, but I don't know where that would go.
That's the first draft, isn't it? That's the blacklist screenplay that then somebody takes and turns it into
and goes, "I've got this
that we know."
I've got this. Well, I imagined it was directed by Lawrence Guterman, who did Cats and Dogs.
Okay.
So he's only done, he's done some great things, and he's worked with DreamWorks. So I think it's probably a DreamWorks as well. Do you know what I mean? Like that family film.
A couple of Spielberg jokes in there, because he's part of DreamWorks, isn't he? So just a couple of sort of Amblin type jokes, and for the adults.
Absolutely. Maybe they look up at they're howling at the moon, and then you see a bicycle go across it, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Something for the parents.
One thing I was going to ask, obviously, you said this is a kids' show or film. Are there a lot of bad guys in the shows you watch with your little one, Dan?
Yeah, well, actually, there are. I mean, it depends. So we were talking about this the other day, me and Sarah, is that English, like CBeebies, or CBeebies doesn't tend to have too many baddies. And if they are, they're kind of misunderstood baddies. They're just mischievous rather than anything. I think Tree Fu Tom has some baddies in it. But on the whole, English animation and children's programs don't have as many sort of combative things in them. They're more like accidents working together, how to become a team.
Yeah.
All the American stuff that we watch like some of the superhero, but the kids' versions of the stuff, or we've been watching Miraculous, which if you haven't watched is brilliant. In fact, Sam would love that, Maddie.
Taken a note.
Yeah, Miraculous is, and that is a bit more. There are actual baddies. So in that one, it's cool because they're baddies because they have a negative emotion, so they're a bit sad or something, and then an Akuma gets them, and then they become bad because that negative emotion gets blown up. So that's a long digression. But yes, some of the stuff I watch with my little one does have baddies.
I was just wondering, because it was the mice are framing the cats. That's quite like a heavy sort of thing for kids to understand. So
the kids do get that kind of stuff, and actually it's really helpful because that's a kind of a good lesson to teach kids, that sometimes the person you think that is doing it isn't, and like you can jump to conclusions and maybe there's someone else behind it. Again, like some of the kids things are about this person is only acting badly because they're feeling sad or because they're feeling angry because something has aggrieved them, and that's really helpful for kids to understand as well. So yeah, that's I like that, mice versus cats.
Yeah, so I've got a sort of multi-tiered question, but I think it stems from when is it made first is the key, right? Because if it's made in the cats and dogs era, that's different to, I guess, if it's made now. So where do you see it fitting?
I think it's just now. So maybe beginning of this decade. So Cats and Dogs has been made, and that's why they called on Lawrence Gutterman, because he did so well in that one. Let's do it again, but we got a better idea this time, and it isn't.
Right. Yeah. And then, so does that mean that it's... is there any CG in it at all? Do they CG the mouths like they did in Cats and Dogs? Or
Well,
do they...
I thought, like, it could go full Lion King, couldn't it? And, like, be fully CGI. But the budget on that would be quite intense.
Yeah, it wouldn't sort of be for this sort of idea, would it? But because also they did that recently, didn't they, with the almost fully CG environments or extensions and all CG animals for the Harrison Ford movie they did recently, Call of the Wild, and that, so the animals are really expressive, and the CGI is fantastic, but the uncanny valley kicks in when you see animals acting in a very human, expressionistic way. So where would it fall on that sort of scale?
I feel like it should be looking animal, but they'll definitely have to have their mouths moving for speech, wouldn't they? So I guess it's low-level CGI.
Okay.
But the CGI is so good now that it...
levels.
Well, probably better than that, because low-level CGI now is better than top-level CGI even 10 years ago. So I just found out that Cats and Dogs was a 60 million budget, and it made 200 million.
Yeah, it made bank.
What?
It did well.
Wow.
Because it had both of the two different animals that people love in it. It was it was just called
If you're
Cats.
Maddie, you hate the both.
Yeah,
Yes,
mixed Mr. Trick there.
The marketing campaign was very like, are you a dog person? Are you a cat person?
I see,
And
right.
Nice.
It's very clever. Because as we all know, the film Cats came out recently. It didn't do very well. So you've got to cater for both, for both parties.
I think there's probably more reasons
There's more-
than
you
the
think
fact
there's more?
it was about cats
Okay.
that it didn't do well.
I think you're probably right. Okay, so if it's made fairly recently, let's say, is it going to be, and it's DreamWorks, are they going to do what DreamWorks typically does and push, it's Bill Murray, it's Ray Liotta, it's Scarlett Johansson? Are they going to push like their cast? They're going to say, this is our big budget, our big Hollywood
That's true.
cast?
I hadn't really thought about cast yet. And also, at the moment, in a very naughty way, all of mine have seemed to be male, and maybe that should change. But in fact, the Alsatian, the beat cop, the one that's actually got all the brains, do you know what I mean? The one that's actually doing all the hard work, feels like it should be a female dog.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if the Schnauzer was like some, like Oprah Winfrey or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
just,
cool. Yeah, that's good.
Vader Ginsburg.
Oh, you'd get a real,
Get a real judge in.
Real judge.
I'm desperately thinking of a dog pun on her name, and even though she's got 3 names, I can't think of one.
Any of them. It's awful, isn't it?
Can there be a sniffer dog in it that is
no, wait, it's Roof Gator Ginsburg, that's what it is.
Listen, I thought that, but dismissed it. It wasn't good enough.
I was there.
No, it was good. Good attempt. I'd like there to be a sort of morgue dog, which is a sniffer dog. And it's and they have an eccentric personality, and they have to sniff everything to understand it. They've almost they're on the spectrum as a dog.
Well, I
as a
think
sort of
I think the Basset
Makes him
Hound,
so good.
the Sherlock Holmes Basset
I
Hound
see,
guy
right.
is, or it feels like, because he's just so dog tired.
Yeah.
You're going to use that.
Yeah,
He's
that's
world
good.
weary. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Does he have a psychiatrist?
But he smells.
Like they have like the police psychiatry
A
sort of
psychiatrist.
sessions.
I like it.
They have the sort of police psychiatrist.
The interrogator, the one that interrogates them when they come and the cats come in, and like they walk in, it has to sniff the cat's bottoms to tell whether they're telling the truth or anything.
Yeah, intimidating them with its sniffing and everything.
Maybe if they're like bringing the lie detector and it's just a dog that sits behind them, like, and so when they
and
talk, it sniffs their butt.
Whoops
And it
every
just,
time they're like,
moves his head around the side and just nods and shakes his head and then goes back.
Oh, I'm liking
that's
this more
brilliant.
and more. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, but it's a kids show. Oh no, but that is kind of funny though.
I'm really sold. Like, I really want to watch this right now. I love it.
It is a genuinely sort of, and as most of your ideas are, Dan, like a genuinely bankable idea. Like the kind of thing that is solid, can be made, and would make money. Those are all of your ideas.
Look, why am I doing this
why
podcast?
Why are you wasting your time on this? Secretly, I'm writing it all down, and I'm going to use all of your ideas. And burn all the negatives of the podcast.
I edit this, Sean.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for
That
the
was
pitch, Dan.
so
Thanks.
good.
Quality work. Quality work.
You've given Maddie an
love
idea that she
it.
genuinely wants to see.
Look, there's something we could do. I think there's something we could do with both of them there, Maddie. There's something in between. Do you know what I mean?
You have
reckon?
a section in the film set at like a Hollywood, an LA for dogs, and you have that be a central part of the plot because that's very Chinatown as well. You have this sort of silent movie being made or something, and
Of the cats playing dogs.
that's like, that's where all the cats work in Hollywood, right? So all the cats, right? All the cats work in Hollywood, and that's why they won't let the dogs in, But dog films sell, so they're there all pretending to be dogs.
Why not the dogs find the cats playing dogs, and that makes them think that they are trying to frame the dogs to do something when
because
it's
they
actually
see
the
dog
mice that are the
outfits,
bad
right?
guys
So
the
they're
entire
going,
time.
what's going on? Yeah, but really, it leads them to the sort of, come on, there's got to be an animal pun for Hollywood. Anyway, there's got to be one. If anyone can do it, Hollywoof. Yeah, that's good.
Hollywoof, that's it.
But yeah, so it leads them to the Hollywoof, and that's where they find out the costumes and
I love it.
Oh, that's good. So I just want to ask a quick question then. Are any of these characters? We're going to get racy again. Are any of these characters? Are they based on any? What good and bad fantasy and science fiction and other things do is they amalgamate certain peoples or certain things in real life, and they sort of try and find a way of examining this thing. Are we saying that do we want to stay away from stereotypes with the mice? We don't want to stereotype them as a particular people.
Yeah, I think they're just super clever. That's all. Like they're just mice. They're like evil geniuses.
Right.
They're not any particular race or anything, and the cats aren't anything. They're just the mice have worked out that no one likes cats anyway.
Yeah.
So they can get away with all this crime and blame it on the cats, and then that's the way forward. Isn't it?
When they go to Hollywood, can they be filming? Can like the lead cat be filming a role in a sort of Cleopatra type? Because I feel like you want to bring the Egyptology in with cats. Like they're filming. They made a Cleopatra, didn't they? In this sort of between the 40s and 60s. I can't remember when it came out, but it's quite a big deal. So, and obviously, you've got they're talking about test titles, and it's like Cleopatra, and like but with an X through it, and it's like whatever, and that's the introduction to one of these characters. Yes. I'm interested. Okay, listen.
Suddenly, this has become even more now. This is great. So, like, it's now we've got the Hollywood side of it, and it's a bit more mischievous with the mice actually using the cats to get away with crime, and then maybe the dogs are going to have to shut down Hollywood because of all this crime that's going on, and the cats are like, we haven't done it. At the same time as someone behind them is like just nonchalantly pushing a vase off the top of a table for no reason. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, so we've got all those kind of in gags, and so the cats are trying. The cats want to be considered innocent, but they just don't give enough crap to actually make an effort. And it's only these dogs, only these 4 dogs that care enough about cats to try and find out the real crux of the crime. Perfect. They want to sniff it out.
Just before we hear Ryan the Dupe's pitch for Dogs of Law, I just want to remind everyone what happens at the end of the season. So what we'll be doing is we have 4 heats until the end of the season, and at the end of the season we want you guys. By that time we'll have whittled them down to 4 ideas, the winning ideas from every other episode, and we'll have whittled them down, and we need you guys at home to vote for them. So keep telling us where you disagree with us. Keep telling us who should have won, who's been robbed. Keep giving us your own ideas, and we will pluck a few wild cards out of the air as well. And at the end, you guys will get to decide which idea goes forward to be made into a trailer. So subscribe. We have a YouTube channel where all of these podcasts go up to as well. So subscribe there if you to be first to see the trailer when it comes out. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at /Dupe, our Instagram, and our Facebook group. Most of us jump on as much as we can. So we'll if you DM us or if you respond to any of our messages, we'll message you back and we'll try and give you a shout out in one of the episodes. I just wanted to also, just before we go into this, we've had some good feedback over the last few months. I just want to thank Danny Kelly because he sent it in a message to me, and he was talking about a couple of titles we could use. So I just wanted to float these titles to you guys, not to pitch your own ideas yet, because we want to save that for an episode. But I just wanted to hear your initial thoughts on these. So Danny Kelly told me, he said one of the titles he liked or we could potentially use was Wretch, and he thought that was quite interesting. So I don't know if anybody gets any ideas initially off of Wretch, because it's quite an interesting idea, but I can tell you his idea. It's just a brief one-line pitch. It is a superhero who can regurgitate anything he or she needs at the drop of a hat. And I was like, that's a fantastic idea.
Amazing.
It's great, isn't it?
I think I've got a pretty sick idea for that film.
Oh, no. You're always lowering the tone. But someone has to, because if it isn't you, then it's me. So, and he just had one other title, which I love. And please, you guys at home, send us your titles, because we will use them. And we will, there's something amazing about bringing people together to see what they come up with in arenas where you could possibly imagine they would go. I'm looking at you, Maddie, specifically.
Hello.
So Mad Props. Mad Props is it, which I like. It has a sort of, it's quite a fresh title. I like it. So that was Danny Kelly's other title, Mad Props, and it's just 3 words: telekinetic set designer. And I was like, okay. But the thing about that one is I need to hear more about that one. So maybe we could get him on board. Maybe if we do Mad Props as a title, maybe Danny will come on board and give us his full rendition of that, of Mad Props, because I want to know what's on his mind. So Ryan, you're the dupe. You've heard the title Dogs of Law. You've heard the 2 pitches we've had so far from Maddie and Dan, and I feel like you look like you're ready, bursting and ready to give us your interpretation of Dogs of Law.
I am, yeah, and it's about some dogs and some cats that are no, I'm kidding. It's So Dogs of Law is, I've taken some of the title and acronymed it. It's acronymed? I've taken some of the title and acronymed it. So it's Dogs of Law, and the law is London Air Warfare.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
So they are the dogs of London Air Warfare. And
love it.
This film is about, it's a high budget film, and I couldn't decide whether they're at war with robots, aliens, or dragons. So maybe some kind of like cyber alien dragon, like intelligent Zerg or something like that sort of thing. And in the same vein of like Jarhead being about the privates, this is about the dogs, and they are an elite team of the best dog fighters picked from all of the different sort of air services around the world, and they get brought to law, and they are given these like small, quick, low armored like planes that just fly around and take out all of like the detritus enemies, while like the big bombers and the other ships like go in and do mass damage. And so I like that. So I've named the planes Ridgeback, Bulldog, Schnauzer, Bloodhound, and the Corgis. And that'll be like it'll be a squad of these guys. I think for actors, I've got Justice Smith playing the main character.
Yeah, good
And
call.
I like the idea of Awkwafina, who is like an ex-gamer who got recruited, and she like Twitch streams her plane when she goes up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And sort of and flies it around in dogfights. I don't know who I want a set of twins to fly in the corgis. That's what I want. I'll put it out to the audience if you can think of some cool twins that could be in this to play in this scene. But I just like the idea they're actually. One of the things I love about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example, is that they're actually really good at their jobs. So I think these guys aren't just like, this isn't like, welcome to day one, and you have all the training montages. No, they're like ace pilots. They've got a job to do, they're specially recruited. To the point where they start to like have like kill count tallies with each other, and it's not like a romance story. It's like they're all trying to just like serve. And then I think ultimately the twist will come along, the classic twist in these things where they go out on a mission. Also, I've got John Cena down as their like drill sergeant. And then at some point he's probably going to get in the Great Dane, which is like a big, huge bomber, and that's going to be his plane that he'll fly. And I like the idea that they'll go out on a mission, and then like this huge ship they've never seen before comes out of the clouds, and they're like and then probably Justice Smith gets shot down, and sort of under the world where they've effectively been like living in the clouds, it's just like detritus everywhere, and like he's got to try and cobble together a ship to try and get back. I've also got his name. He's called Dagos Wolf, which is an anagram of Dogs of Law.
So clever.
So many levels.
I've had a couple of others. Flagwoods is another one, and Gulf Woads is another. But I think
So instead of listening to everybody's pitches, you've just been coming up with anagrams this whole time.
That's exactly what he's been doing.
That was your anagram face, was it? That I was
and
looking
only
at this
three,
whole
so
time.
not that many either. But I think definitely going beyond the film, there's definitely marketing tie-ins with Red Bull Air Racing and like stunt people like the Red Arrows. They'll like brand up their planes and they'll go do all like, because they're like quick, short, sharp planes, doing stuff like that. 100% gets. If it doesn't get an actual video game, it gets a flight simulator DLC.
It's got to have a video game. It's got to have a video game off the back of it. Yeah.
But it'll be because there was that
even if
game
it's
Starlink.
a mobile game where you have to take each of you, like upgrade your dogs. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you get to upgrade your pilot.
It's right for that, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it would have no of the original actors' voices in it except for maybe John Cena.
Oh, the game.
Yeah, the game, yeah.
No likenesses except for John Cena. Right. In fact, it'll be his flight school, right? That'll be the game, and you'll have to be part of his crew, and like, yeah, exactly.
And then you get to explore all of like the ships and the dog names of the ships that weren't in there. I sort of picked, aside from the corgis, because it's like one of those ironic names, and then they're actually like these two twins that are amazing at what they do. But like I picked quite aggressive dog names, I think. That just that sound like mean, and I think that's good. I think it's a film that I would love to go and see. Right, this crazy, like, one of my favorite things in games like Battlefield and Battlefront is flying the ships. Like, I'm not a ground soldier. I love just like flying through the crowds, trying to lose people, playing like Ace Combat and stuff like that. So it's something that I love, that quick, sort of fast paced adrenaline rush that we all wanted to get from Top Gun, but instead we got shirtless volleyball,
which also gets the pulse racing.
Some people like that.
It's true. Yeah. Maybe I will maybe they'll like someone will suggest playing volleyball and they'll just like shoot them a look at some point. Like, come on. In fact, maybe it'll be John Cena. John Cena's like, we used to play volleyball back in my day.
Yeah. So is this something that like goes over well? Is it captured? Does it capture something? Do they go, it's 1917, or is it a serious film like that, or is it much more of a sort of fun, affair?
I think it has. I think it goes over about as well. It goes over better than Pacific Rim 1 does.
Oh, okay.
Because
hopefully way better than Pacific Rim 2 did.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay.
So I think that, and you have things like Awkwafina drums up all of like the Korean support from that. and so sort of it gets a lot of love in the eastern sort of China and Korea, Japan, and from that it has a lot of love in it from that, I think.
Particularly with the kaiju-like designs
Yeah.
on the robot alien dragons.
Yeah, and I just, because I thought, let's just throw them all together. I couldn't decide which one. Cyber alien dragons is literally what I've got in front of me in my notes, and I think that's a cool sentiment. The sort of like big, hulking, like red flesh with like neon lights poking out of it and stuff like that.
Also,
like,
the name of my next band.
The cyber alien dragons.
Any questions from anyone?
Poster. We haven't been asking very often
Marketing.
because often the pictures are quite robust or obvious, but this one I'm not quite sure how you would bring this one to
life. As
light.
I said, a lot of marketing with things like Red Bull Air Racing, stunt thingy. I think you definitely would sell the jackets. You'd sell like bomber jackets with the dog, the Law logo on it, and then you'd sell each one of the individual ones. You sell a special one for twins as well, so they can get the corgis. And I think you'd sell like enamel pins are really popular, like a load of enamel pins at the minute. Obviously, toy tie-ins with the actual jets, like I think it's got a lot of potential to be toyified. Definitely,
There would be the marketing would have to be like YouTube, like you say Twitch. Maybe there'd actually be like a Twitch channel where you get to see the dogfights before. Do you know what I mean? Like you actually get to see the cockpit. So they do like 10-minute or a quick 30-second dogfight, but every week they do a new one on Twitch. Do you know what I mean? So you can get to.
There'll be the lead up because you can actually there's like real dogfighting you can do in the sky with like lasers, can't you? I think you go up with a plane with a professional. That's part of the marketing as well. The actual actors will go and do that as like one of the days to sort of practice. I think there'll be a lot of good behind the scenes stuff, actually training with Air Force, like ex-Air Force pilots and astronauts and people like that to sort of to learn how to fly.
I've got a final question. I want to know, does it make an absolute box office smash? Is it a box office smash, or is it, a Jupiter Ascending type sort of monumental flop? Because it can go either way. It can go. This sort of idea can go. It's a hair's breadth away from either side.
I think it does okay in Europe, good in America, and really good in the Chinese market.
Fair enough.
Sort of, going across west, it does from sort of okay. Because I think, because people will see it in the UK because it's called, London Air Warfare. I think in America because of the actors and actresses you've got and the sort of, I was going to say Final Fantasy, but that's not right. The sort of Fast and Furious-esque action and sort of big Hollywoodness of it, but then also I think the sort of the sci-fi, the actors, the actresses, the sort of the story, the weird sort of, I guess it's not particularly body horror with the monsters, but like that, as you said, the kaiju-ness of it, that's what does well. And then I think it makes most of its money though on the marketing materials and like the toys. That's where it makes a majority of its money. Video game type, flight DLC, flight simulator DLC. That's what it's all about. That's what we all yearn for.
So this is, thanks for that, Ryan. So this is highly irregular for me as well these days, for me to actually have an idea. And just off the record, I know time's tight, but I'll just go through my idea quickly. So I recently I haven't had any ideas for this, but for the podcast. But initially, I wrote this treatment a long time ago for a thing called Law Dogs, and I thought. As I revisited it, I thought, "Oh, Dogs of Law sounds good," and I just sort of shifted it around, and I think it's turned out better. But initially, I had an idea that was a little bit like Widows meets Deadwood is sort of the idea. So it's a Western that started as a comic book idea. It was a treatment for a comic book idea, and I like the idea that in this sort of American Western town. All the men leave, to defeat a local criminal gang. So they all go, because it's a small town, so they need to recruit some of the men. The sheriff goes, and they basically come. A posse leaves to defeat this criminal gang, and they're gone for a long time. And it seems so long that there's a vacuum, and the town starts to become lawless. And then at that point, what happens is, as it descends into chaos, is the women that have been left in the town step up to take over the major roles, including peacekeeping primarily. And, for example, the sheriff's daughter must become sheriff, but there's all the pimply sort of deputies still there who are useless, but they have to sort of rise above that. The bank manager's wife, the niece of the mayor, they all have to step into those positions. And I like the idea that the brothel is repurposed into a kind of hub of law and politics. The matron sees, actually, we can do more in this town than just sort of service, the men. We can actually, almost sort of, elevate the whole thing. And I sort of like the idea that, the men come back at some point. Maybe that's like season 2, or that's the second sort of comic or whatever, or the second half of the film. But the issues that come out of there aren't, it's not like, oh, there are women in our place, because they're equally talented and equally capable. In fact, it's other things. It's having to deal with the PTSD of coming back from, seeing their friends die and everything. There's more at work. I want to sort of almost flip it on its head. It's not like, oh, the women have our roles and how dare they, they're inferior. It's more like the men are relieved that is happening without them needing to actually step into those roles. So I wanted to take a microcosm of a Western and sort of look at it with more modern values. And sort of almost as if this place was shifted earlier in time.
I'd watch the shit out of this, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
maybe when the men come back, they have like a contest in each of the roles. So it's like the sheriffs have like a shooting contest, or like the bank managers have to like, I don't know, count the cash quickly, and like. But then, as what you're saying, like I think maybe some of the women maybe relinquish their roles back up to the men, because it's not about that. And then, as you said, some of the guys might not actually want their job anymore. I don't actually want to work in the bank. That's what I never wanted to do. My father forced me to do it, and
exactly,
and that sort of stuff.
So they find also more freedom within their roles. Both the men and women have more mobility within this town, and it becomes almost like an experiment. Reminds me a little bit of like Amsterdam in The Wire. They did like a sort of they had a town without any policing for a while, or they had an area of the place of Baltimore without any policing at all, and it became this sort of experiment. And I sort of, maybe at some point the women have to go out and retrace the steps of the men in order to go and defeat the criminal gang, or maybe they go out together, and there's other things you can do. But I definitely like the idea of it not being this sort of flag-waving film, like men are bastards, and, and I didn't want it to be oppressive. I wanted it to actually be the opposite. So it takes you into a lot of places that you didn't expect it to go. And it's more about cooperation, compassion, equity and equality.
I want it. I want it. You've won.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the pitch that wins.
It can't do. Listen, that's very kind of you guys. But I'd be remiss if I didn't just briefly refresh everybody at home on the much better ideas that we've had so far. So, for Dogs of Law, we had an idea from Maddie where it's a cult film that's so bad it's good. It's a sort of Hot Fuzz meets, I don't know, Charlie Chaplin meets Bugsy Malone. It's a silent film where it's all the dogs are played by cats, and I realise as I'm saying it's wonderfully Maddie, it's wonderfully ludicrous, but it becomes this loved and revered and shared piece of sort of wholesome, lovely entertainment.
Community effort.
Community effort, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We had from Dan a sort of film noir, tongue in cheek, but with the jokes sort of riffing off of the tropes from sort of Law and Order and from other film noirs. We had mice framing cats so that the dogs would run them out of town. You had characters like the Fat Cat or the Top Cat. And you had a Basset Hound with a Sherlock Holmes complex, and a wonderful box office smash successor to something like Cats and Dogs. And of course we had Ryan's Dogs of Law, LAW. Ryan, refresh me. What did that stand for?
London Air Warfare.
The London Air Warfare. So we have Justice Smith and Awkwafina who doing what I can only imagine are terrible British accents. Because I would hope so. I would hope that they're trying their best to do terrible British accents. Fighting in a sort of Pacific Rim type way, dogfighting these cyber alien dragons. And it becomes a smash hit because of its scope and its ludicrousness and its marketing, and it basically makes money off of its merchandise and its toys. Which is also something we've not really thought about very much on Slash Dupe yet. This idea of like a film that they make like Pacific Rim that's sort of almost made just for merchandise. So 3 fantastic ideas. I'm going to be very quick here because I already know what I want to do, but I want to where I'm going to take my time is allowing you guys to okay this idea. Ryan, I have to let you down, I'm afraid, my friend. It was a fantastic idea, and I think I thought Dan's was at first, but I think yours is now the most eligible to be made into a film. That's the thing that would be made. However, the thing I would want to make is, and I'm going to float it to the both of you, and I hope you don't mind me doing this, but I'm going to try and merge both ideas. So you could tell as we were pitching it, I was getting excited about the idea of merging them anyway, hoping you guys didn't mind. But if we could take Maddie's idea and have a whole silent film and a whole cats playing dogs and the sort of almost the racial implications of that, or the sort of the class dynamic, and if we can take that and plot that in the middle of Dan's sort of film noir, sort of detective film, that is the sort of thing I would want to win. So I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Maddie, I will happily share with your ukulele and recorder consort. It would be an honour.
It would be an honour to merge with you.
Also, you have all the best dog names. So
yeah, that's
you
required,
can have them.
Yeah.
Is this our first joint winner in Slash Dupe?
I think it is. I watched the behind the scenes of the 5th Transformers film last night. Don't ask me why. And they have a writer's room, and they came up with 2 completely separate ideas, both valid as independent ideas. And Michael Bay, the auteur genius that he is, said, just smash them both together and we'll make a movie about them both.
That's
so
perfect.
I've been inspired by that, and I'm just going to smash both your ideas together. I don't know how we're going to do it when it comes to winning and when it comes to anything else, heats and so on and finals, but thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Dan. You're both your ideas are being smashed together in the writers' room. You're both
Smash Dupe.
Smash Dupe. That's a spin-off.
That's it. I now have to relinquish my punnery because that's stopped all of them. Congratulations, Maddie and Dan, for being our joint winners for today.
So I'm thinking maybe a hashtag Ryan was robbed. If you're feeling like switching up, people have been following and using the hashtag Dan was robbed, but maybe we want to switch it to hashtag Ryan was robbed. Ryan, tell everybody, and don't sound too disheartened or upset, but tell everybody where they can find us online if they want to interact with us. Let us know their ideas, let us know their pitches, and who should have won and who shouldn't have.
We have a Facebook group, a Twitter, and an Instagram. All of those are @/Dupe. We also have a Reddit and a YouTube channel now as well.
Yeah, and we have a Patreon as well. So if you fancy giving us however much it costs for a cup of coffee a month, we'll give you behind the scenes content. We'll give you, depending on your contribution, you can get exclusive access. You can even
be in the trailer.
You
could even be in the trailer.
And we want
unless
you
it's
to
Maddie's film, because then you can be a cat.
right.
You have to be
hand
dressed as a
that puts
cat,
the
dressed as a
food.
dog, right?
Yeah. We'll
want-
work it out.
And we want you to listen. We want our real fans to sign up now, so that you don't even know what trailer you're going to be in. That's the thing. Like, don't just sign up last minute when you find out it's going to be like, Scarface 2. We want you to come in when you have no idea what it's going to be, and it may end up being Maddie's Dogs of Law.
Maddie and Dan's Dogs of
Maddie
Law.
and
Yeah,
Dan,
I was going to say,
Dogs
it's
of Law.
not just me.
Mostly Maddie.
No, please, no.
Hey listeners, you may have noticed that Maddie's voice sounds super gorgeous on this podcast. She is a extraordinary voiceover artist. What have you been doing? What stuff have you done, Maddie,
Oh,
that
goodness.
you're allowed to tell us about, obviously?
Oh, you are too kind. Well, no, I can talk about it. I mainly record audiobooks that are on. Most of them are on Audible.
It's great sponsorship for us. Excellent work.
Oh, yes. Well, and lots of different genres, lots of different types of books.
What's your favourite? What's an entry point if you were to recommend one or two? What would you
Oh
suggest?
goodness, it depends what you like. If you like your historical fiction, then I narrated a book called The Other Queen, which is a Philippa Gregory book. If you like that kind of thing, then there's some sort of set in France mysteries on there as well. And a lot of kids stuff. So like Jacqueline Wilson books. I've just been working on a new book from a kids author, which I will be out soon. But yeah, you'll have to wait for that one. So lots of different things, and I love it very, very much.
It's my little one's bedtime sorted for at least a week. It's great.
Well, listen, we're really grateful to have had you on, Maddie. Thank you very much. Your idea was a complete breath of fresh air, really fantastic. So that's not
Ridiculous idea.
damning with faint praise. Like it really. But thank you very much, Maddie, for coming on.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. And honestly, I've had a lot of fun, and you're all amazing with your ideas. My goodness me. Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dan and Ryan, thank you very much as well. It wouldn't be the same without you. I'm really glad we can do this together where we're doing it remotely. And I couldn't be happier that we get to do this.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you for hosting. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah.
Check a big laugh for everyone.
Yeah.
Very spiky.
That's a real insight into your life, Maddie.
That's
Yeah.
a sarcastic laugh.
Recorded in the Capo Studios 2020. What's up, Danger?